This episode is sponsored by Well Balanced Nutrition and 360 Health.
Welcome to the Heath Geeks Book Club podcast. Listen in as Kristen Norton and Eleanor Russell review all those great health and wellness books you've been wanting to read or you have read and want to talk about. Here's Kristen and Eleanor.
Okay, Tim, that's enough. That's enough.
Getting your woo on, y'all.
Listen, y'all, we picked a really
Christmas
interesting
rap.
book. Oh, no, back off. Okay. Today we're going to talk about quantum body. It's the new science of living a longer, healthier, and more vital life.
Is it, though?
Well, that's going to be part of the conversation.
Tired of feeling stuck in your health journey? At Well Balanced Nutrition, we understand that achieving your health goals isn't just about what you eat. It's about overcoming the mental roadblocks holding you back. Our team of expert nutrition coaches is here to guide you every step of the way, helping you break through mindset barriers and reach your full potential. Don't let mindset barriers stand in the way of your health and happiness. Call Well Balanced Nutrition today and start your journey to a better you.
So, Kristen, tell us a little bit about the author, because there are three of them. There's one that's kind of prominent, but there are three guys that have collaborated on this epistle.
Right. This is by Deepak Chopra MD. He's the founder of the Chopra Foundation and Chopra Global, a modern-day entity for research on well-being and humanitarianism. He is the author of more than 90 books. Is that true?
Yeah, I read one of his other books. It was called Super Brain, and I really liked it.
Okay.
But 900 books, that's a lot for one person.
That is. And he has two other authors, Jack Tuszynski,
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
PhD. He's a quantum physicist with appointments in the Department of Physics at the University of Alberta and professor of biomedical engineering at Polytechnic University of Turin, Italy. Mm-hmm. And then Brian Fertig is an MD, an academic associate professor.
Isn't he an endocrinologist or something?
Yes.
Which I thought was an interesting combination of people.
I agree.
An MD, and I think Chopra is a sort of internal medicine kind of guy, isn't he?
I think he's an endocrinologist, too.
Oh, he is? Oh, okay. We need to maybe look that up later, another day.
But Brian Fertig is also the author of Metabolism and Medicine, a 2-volume series detailing a scientific approach for predicting and preventing disease through understanding of metabolism within the human body, using physics, physiology, and medicine.
I kind of wanted to look that one up because I thought that looked interesting. And we read that other book about metabolism by our local author, The Next Level Metabolism.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's a topic that certainly is pertinent to physical wellness. I think that might be an interesting one to go after this. This book was published in 2023, so it's kind of hot off the press. Mm-hmm. And it's from one of our frequented publishing houses, Penguin Random House, but it's the Harmony book group from there. So we've read a few others from Harmony. It's been through a review process. And I will say that it was interesting to me to be, the new science of a living longer and healthier life, that there wasn't a bibliography and there are no footnotes. There's an index, but it is not written in a scientific way. And I think for me, and Kristen, you can respond to this, quantum physics is revolutionary and new, really. I mean, people in the 20th century have been talking about it, but before that, nobody was talking about quantum physics. It's kind of a new division of approaching the world and the universe and how we function. So to take that really intricate science concept and bring it to the public, who probably doesn't have a lot of foundation in classical physics or chemistry or biology, I think that's a challenge, and I'm not sure they met the challenge, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I think I applaud them for attempting it, But I think this is one of I read it, and I have a little bit of background, but not the depth that I would think you could enjoy this book more, because you have to sit with it. I mean, the ideas are revolutionary and radical, and you're sitting there going, what is a real body? And so anyway, they divided the book, they organized it in some pretty good little chapters. They give us an overview where they introduce this whole idea of thinking of our bodies as quantum bodies and not just a physical body. And then what do you do about the standard paradigm of keeping it well, keeping your body well, lifelong well-being? And they challenge that, and then they talk about reality and expanding our awareness. And then they go down into using the quantum explanations for some of the things that we haven't been able to explain in chemistry and physics. And then there's an add-on on the spiritual dimension. But I felt like there was a tack on how to, they promoted it as the new science of a longer, healthier, more vital life, but they didn't deliver. I didn't see that they delivered on that. It was a tack on at the end of that chapter of what you could do.
Right.
So let's dig into it a little bit and see.
Can I up front be a little honest with you? Mm-hmm. Anytime I hear the word quantum,
yep.
I, not on purpose, but I just totally zone out because I don't.
Yeah, that was me the whole book.
Yeah, I don't get what quantum means, A. I don't know how it pertains to anything, and so
you don't have a foundation for it.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
And Deepak does not build that foundation.
And so I just glass over, and my head hurts. And then you use paradigm, and every time somebody uses paradigm, and that kind of throws me off too. It's just.
You want to shift your paradigm?
Do I?
No.
I'm with you, Tim. I'm so with you.
Yeah.
So the first thing in my notes is, what does quantum mean?
Okay, so here we go. Let's talk about quanta and qualia. So quanta is this really cool concept of duality, that something can be two different things at the same time. And that's, when you dig down in a cell and then you go into the molecule and then you go into the atom and how the atom is structured. And then, you're down to where we can't really say, there it is, I can touch it anymore. It's not physical. It's an idea that masterminds have said, I think I get it. I can share this with you. Okay, so you get down into that level, or you go out your telescope to the universe and you go beyond the planets and our universe, and you say, oh, there are other universes out there? It's like, so what can we possibly understand being physical entities ourselves with 5 or 6 senses? They say we have a 6th sense as well, which is kind of fun. But, that idea that when I studied chemistry and we got down to atoms, we could say, oh, there's a nucleus. Have you all ever heard that? My 2 colleagues here?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And there are particles in there, and there are some electrons that circulate around the nucleus. But in the nucleus, it's very interesting. There's a proton, and there's this thing called a neutron that nobody really knows what it is, but it's there. But it's there. It has no charge. So we're talking about electricity all of a sudden.
Why is there not a contron? There's a proton, but not a contron?
Contron, yeah.
Pros and cons.
We just haven't. You just might be onto something there. So anyway, you get into that, and then when they draw
There's
these
wonton.
Oh my gosh! Back off, Tim. I'm in the middle of a really heavy thing here, and I'll be done in a minute.
Okay.
So you get down there, and you've got this picture that they give you in classes when you go to school, and say, "Here's a picture of the atom. Mm-hmm. And it has a center, and it's got these circles around it, little dots on it. But then you find out that electron thing that has a negative charge that creates current that we all love in our technology, right? We're using this stuff all the time, and people around us understand this. So that electron spins one way or another way, and it's really not there. It's somewhere in that orbit, but it's not there. I mean, they can't really find it. So is it a particle or is it a wave? And that happens with photons and other things that we've discovered. And we say, this is the quantum cool thing, is that the observer determines the reality. So that when we decide how to measure that thing, that determines whether it's a particle or a wave. And there's where you just jump off the deep end into, do I even need to worry about this?
Right.
I mean, I'm a physical person, but I also am a spiritual person. So
if that's quantum,
and quality
quantum
is
physics
the characteristic.
is the study of matter and energy at the most fundamental level, excuse me, then what is your quantum body?
Well, interestingly enough, you have this physical body. And have you ever studied the Vedic Sanskrit literature that he has?
Not, no.
Well, there's a lot of
It
it
was
in this
next
book.
on my reading list.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Well, it's in this book because I think Deepak's tradition comes from that understanding of wisdom, if you want to, that kind of idea. But we have a quantum body, and then there's something in between us and the physical body, and it's called creative energy or creative intelligence, and it flows between us. And so even though I can touch me here, there's probably a field around me.
Right, he calls it the biofield.
Yeah.
Your body's electrical field.
And the electrons. Some people are calling it electrons too.
Electron.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a whole new study of quantum biology that I took a little rundown to
did
see what are they talking about. There's more to know. There's just more to know. But your quantum body knows how to take care of you, even though you don't know how to take care of you. Because at the very fundamental of this thing is this pure information that drives the systems. And so whether or not we perceive it or know it, it's doing it. And so we should take care of our quantum body. I thought they brought up an interesting thing about information. You talk about energy, and we can't touch energy either, right? But we know it. I mean, I feel energized. You feel it? Mm-hmm. Or you can study physics and move things. You understand that there's inertia and an evolution of where these things are going to go. But in this idea of information, it can't be destroyed. Like energy can't be destroyed. And that was a kind of cool idea that I got out of this book. Because we're living in the information age. And I remember studying history thinking, when I heard the philosophers say there's nothing more powerful than an idea, I thought, yeah, right. But the older I've gotten, I have decided that is really true. You can't stop an idea. Once somebody's got hold of it, it lives. Now, you can distort it. Information can be distorted. And that's what they're saying is happening between our quantum body and our physical bodies. We're doing things in our experience that distort that creative flow of energy and cause disease and aging, which I'm not sure they said we don't have to age. I didn't really hear them say that. But some people are.
It seemed like they were challenging the idea of aging, but I still didn't understand that section, to be honest.
Well, that guy that we read in Lifespan,
Yeah.
David Sinclair, he was challenging it too, saying we don't have to age. That's just, you can live for 800 years.
Yeah, that book was odd.
Hey, if you're as interested in prevention as I am, contact me, Eleanor Russell, at 360health, 4u.com. Whether you're interested in financial wellness or physical health products, 360 Health invites you to become part of our community.
But yeah, I enjoyed just this very basic picture in the book of this is your physical body, and then this is your biofield, and it's just kind of this blur of energy that can kind of just dissipate into the nothingness. So that's kind of the energy or orb. I like to call it an orb. That's the me that we call our body, mind, and spirit. So he does very much take this into the spiritual realm.
Yeah, and he says, I'm not going to until the end. But he does the whole way through.
He does the whole way through. And I was looking into Deepak, and he's not well received among many mainstream physicists. And I think because of that. And his ideas may not.
Well,
Sounds like a duck.
yeah, but we've
Quack.
in our journey, we have read about people that in their time are not accepted.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
they don't go with the current thought process. They challenge it. And I don't know what we'll find out about him later, as we go on. But he talks about the Brahman, the Atman, and the Jiva, which
Those are Hindu things, right?
Yeah, that's the Vedic Sanskrit stuff. And it's the Brahman is the all-encompassing. Some people in some traditions might call that God. Some people might just say it's the universe or whatever. And then Atman is more like the soul, and then Jiva is the individual person. And so it's the 3-in-1 again idea that we hear in other...
The Trinity.
Yeah, and other ways to go about it. But at the very beginning of the book, he challenges, he says the reason that they wanted to write the book was we know that we want to be well, and there are some current theories about how we do that. And we're promoting them and telling people this is how you can attain well-being. And then he says, but if you use that model, when he's calling it the old model because he's presenting a new model, you run into these obstacles. And I thought these obstacles were interesting. Can I share them?
Yeah.
Okay. So he says, no matter how good your diet is, you have absolutely no control what happens to the food once it gets inside your gut. Once it's down there, you can't say, take the sugar and use it right now, or break up this molecule. It's not intentional, right?
Don't get me a sugar buzz.
Yeah.
I want it, but I don't want the buzz.
Yeah, and even though you're thinking that, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So you have no control over it. You have control over what goes in the system, but not once it gets in there. And what they're saying is these cells are embedded with this creative intelligence, and they know what to do, and they will do it. And because of quantum physics, there are these behaviors of entanglement, so that a cell in my gut can almost immediately, or the molecules or the energy or whatever, can instantaneously communicate with my brain. And so this entanglement of all these cells, it sort of breaks apart the way we've been trained in Western medicine to what we call reductionist thinking. You take an organism, you break it into organ systems, you break it into organs, then you break it into tissues, then you break it into cells, and then and if you get down to the bottom of it, you're going to be able to figure this whole thing out. And they're saying, no, not necessarily.
Everything is connected.
It's entangled because of the laws of quantum physics. And this non-locality issue, it's another thing of quantum physics, means that it explains how they can do that it can happen. These cells can communicate instantaneously no matter how far the distance is. And, okay, so that's one of the obstacles. Once you put it in, you have no control over it. The second thing is, no matter how positive your thoughts are, and we're in a culture of positivity now, always think positive thoughts. Even though you're thinking them, you have no control over how your thoughts interact with a lifetime of stored memories. And we've discussed that in lots of our reading too, is that your stored memories interact. So your reality right now, you can actually be in the present and the future at the same time with your thoughts. It's a strange idea to think about, but they put that out here too. Now, the third thing is, no matter how perfectly the human brain is understood, you cannot predict your next desire, wish, fear, instinct, or memory. And so even though we're trying to schedule ourselves and say this is what we're going to do, we can't predict how we're really going to, I really don't want to do that, even though I said I did.
Yeah, we're so human.
Yeah, so we need to revolutionize, like he says, we need to revolutionize our view of well-being. The essence of who you are is inside your conscious control, is totally under control from the quantum level. It holds the master switch to every function inside you.
And he says, nothing can happen to you for good or ill until it happens at the quantum level. Yeah. A ripple in the quantum field determines whether you feel pleasure, pain, fall in love, feel hostility, experience an aha moment, etc. Is that align with what you were just saying? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think so.
See, I'm still so confused by this book.
I want
if
to
y'all
go
can't
home.
tell.
You can't. You got to work the dashboard.
I can't control what happens once you guys start podcasting.
So to me, this is all way over my head. But this is probably a flawed way of me trying to make sense of it. But I do experience things like, we've read a book on tapping, and tapping kind of gets into blocked energy, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can go to therapy and talk about something all day long, but talking about it doesn't do the same thing as tapping, which is moving the energy.
That entanglement thing, you're pushing on the entanglement.
So it kind of makes sense in that way. I do realize that I don't know. I don't think we have the words to explain that.
No.
That's why it's quantum.
That's right. I guess so.
So here's what I picture when you're talking like this, like we have all this energy around us in this field and this between us. And like if we go out and shake somebody's hand, you know, when you have like a dusty floor and you drop a book and it just does that. That's what I picture when you like even shake hands. It's like
Energy.
yeah.
That's a cool way to think about it. I like that.
I do like that, but
There's stuff in here to like, but it's like, I got to sit with this. It's like so not what I'm
I mean,
been used to
even
thinking.
his sentence structure confuses me, but then he'll throw in long words. So I feel like there's some really cool concepts, but we just need to break it down like we're 7 years old.
Maybe we should take a course, right?
Yeah, well, I did find some things online. That
Okay.
If you're interested, so first of all, we read that book, the beautiful illustrated book called Immune.
Yeah.
Remember
Oh,
that?
yeah, that was great.
I don't know how to say this word. Kurskisgat?
Oh, right.
Here, you say it.
Kurzgesagt. Kurzgesagt.
Is that German? Is that
Yeah.
guy?
So
Here, you know what?
just spell it.
I can't remember.
It's Kurzgesagt.
Okay, so
K-E-
Google that. He has a YouTube channel, and he animates things, obviously about the immune system, like that book we read, but there's a section on physics. So that was kind of fun and interesting if you want to get into quantum physics in that way. And then I came across this guy, Dominic Walleman. I found him through a TED Talk, Quantum Physics for 7-year-olds.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, his TED Talk doesn't really explain physics, but his videos do in a way that I feel like is pretty understandable. Still, even at that level, I think this is not the subject for me.
Yeah. Here you go.
But
Kurzgesagt.
there you go.
Okay.
So look that up if you're interested. And then there were a couple of other TED Talks just worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Rethinking Space and Time by Sylvia McKnight Miles. She was a college student going into this, and she did a really good job. And then Your Brain Hallucinates Your Conscious Reality.
Oh, there we go.
That kind of
Yes, I was going
touched on some of the things in this book.
Yeah, they do talk about consciousness, and that was a really interesting thing to think about. There's pure consciousness, which is like if you have a thought and then you have another thought, there's a little gap between those thoughts. And that silence thing there is the pure consciousness. And then there's the bliss consciousness that is when we feel joy or wonder. And we read about awe and
We did.
what happens there. And then there's the wisdom intellect where you have insight and intuition. Because a lot of us intuit things. You know, it's like, I know what's going to happen. And it happens. And then he kind of separates those three consciousness with the mind, which is mental activity. You know, if you're doing a computation, you're using your brain, or life energy, the prana of that idea of feeling alive, and then the physical body where you are self-evident. Like here I am, I know I'm here. There's my hand, I see it, it's mine. And so perception and interpretation become what you just mentioned. Your brain dreams up the reality or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're interested in these kinds of far out thoughts, this book could be for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see the part about the body as a machine where he was talking about we're not a machine and that's why medicine is not working so well right now? We have a lot of investment in our medical therapies and interventions.
I did see that part where
And he says the machines aren't alive, so our body is alive. Exercise wears machines out, but exercise builds our bodies. And then machines can't think or experience, they can't feel emotions, they can't gestate a baby machine, which every time you get into embryology and the beginning of life and how one cell divides, you're amazed. How does it know to do that?
Right.
You know, and it does it most of the time very well. And so maybe there is this energy flow of information that is already there. And if we can learn to tap into it, we could then be well. And he talks about the things that we should embrace, or, he had a list of really good things that we should embrace, like joy and be here in the present right now. And then he talks about diet and sleep. All of a sudden, he's got a little tack on about, oh, yeah, by the way, you need to do all the things all these other people have been telling you to do to take care of your body.
Yeah, whole foods diet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like, why did you even put that in here? Yeah, it's like, chunk that out.
But the idea is like it says on the back that this is practical advice. And I think the practical advice I took away were the kind of the habits that we've read a lot about already. Meditation, mindfulness, being in the present moment, finding joy and playfulness, purpose, eating right, moving your body.
Yeah, and he talks about the fitness landscape and then being good as new. Because if you're good as new, you're good to go, right? And so how do you become good as new? You experience love, you share love, you have joy, your creativity. It seems to increase that good as new feeling that you've got. Empathy, compassion, inner peace, self-worth, and the whole key to that is awareness. So in all of these other things that we've been reading, where you still yourself and become aware, probably is good advice. And he's just saying it from a different angle.
Yeah.
With trying to scientifically support it. With science that doesn't naturally fit.
Right.
Or does, I don't know. Deepak, you should get on here and talk with us.
That's what I thought. I'm like, we need somebody
a physicist.
on here.
Yeah, we need a physicist.
To help us with this conversation.
Well, I want to thank you for tackling it with me. It's certainly out of the realm of any other book we've read.
Yeah.
Although it does tie in. But
Now, it looked like an innocent little book, so I'm like, sure, let's do it. But yeah, it was a tough read, and it was out of the ordinary, but very interesting.
And I think we will continue to think about some of the ideas in here. And it will be interesting to see if some of the authors that we read in the future tap back into any of this.
Yeah.
Because I always look for the connections between ideas we've been reading about and these authors. And sometimes they catch each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Often.
Yeah.
Well, I am Kristen Norton, a registered dietitian with Well Balanced Nutrition. I invite you to visit us at wellbalancednutrition.com, check out our services, and schedule a free clarity coaching call to see if we can help.
Yeah, and I'm Eleanor Russell at 360 Health for You. I love the concept of prevention and staying as healthy as long as we can. And what should we be doing to help navigate that? Reach out to me and we can start a conversation if you're interested in preventive strategies.
And I still have a headache. And opinions stated in this podcast are solely those of the contributors and are not necessarily those of our distributors or hosting company. This podcast is copyrighted, and no part can be reproduced without the express written consent of Kristen and Eleanor.